the Carson City Culture and Tourism Authority Board of Directors meeting. Today is Monday, August 11th, 2025, and we are at the Carson City Community Center, Robert Bob Kroll Boardroom. Can I get a roll call?
Andrew Reno. Here. Diana LaForge. Here. Stacy Giomi.
Here.
Damon Boss. We have a quorum.
Okay. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next we'll ask for any public comment. Hearing none, we will move on to item 5. Let's see here. Where are we at here? Approval of minutes from, let's see here, where are we at? From July 14th, 2025. Do we have any additions or changes? Here. Yeah, we have, Damon, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, we do have Damon here now. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the July 14th, 2025 board meeting?
So moved.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With that, the motion passes. Next, we will move on to, let's see here, item 6, the consent agenda. Would any member of the public like any item pulled for further discussion? Any member of the board? I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Can I get a,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is approved. All right, so we're through the consent agenda. Next, we will turn it over to Dave Peterson.
Thank you, Andrew, Vice Chair Reno. I appreciate that. Agenda item 9 is a presentation and discussion regarding the 2025 Stetness Pay Dirt Carson City event that was held in May 2025. And I'm going to let Carlos Perez, who's the owner of Bike Monkey, who puts this amazing event on, talk us through the recap that he has prepared. So, Carlos, are you able to hear us again?
I sure can.
Perfect. Okay, and just want to make sure you can see what Lydia's got up on the screen, and then just let her know when you want to advance the slides forward.
Okay, great.
Great.
Yes, I can see what Lydia has on the screen. So
All right.
this was just a thank you, obviously. So if you want me to get started, I can jump in.
Go for it.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks. We appreciate the opportunity to get together and recap on this event. We've been organizing this for multiple years now, and I think have forged a really positive community relationship in Carson City. We've been partnering with local organizations to help produce this event and have been raising money for local mountain bike programs, specifically the High School Mountain Bike League in that area. And it's just been an incredible opportunity to explore some areas east of the Sierras that are fairly new to folks. So going into 2025, we replicated the format that has been tried and true for the last couple of years. For those of you not familiar with Stetness Pay Dirt, it is a gravel bike race. And gravel bike racing has become enormously popular around the world over the last several years. the entire industry has actually been modifying their bicycles and creating new bicycles to meet this new demand. The photo that you're looking at right here is of Peter Stetina, and this whole event is essentially his brainchild. It's something that he dreamt up to give back to his community of fellow bike racers. He's a professional bike racer himself, kind of heading into retirement, and this is the next big thing, is to take what he's gleaned from professional racing and share it with the rest of the world. If you want to jump to the next slide, Lydia. One thing that stands out about Stetina's Pay Dirt is it's unique in its approach to offering a professional purse. So $10,000 is awarded to the top 5 professional women only of the event. Now we have professionals participating in the men's category as well. However, there aren't any other events that put a focus on highlighting the women athletes. And so Shimano, as a partner, has helped underwrite a purse specifically for the women. And we've been able to attract some of the top talent. Paige Onweller took the win this year. She's obviously the one on the top step. Very well-rounded athlete and is a contender for some of the bigger gravel race series across the country. Combined, these athletes account for probably 80,000 unique followers on social media platforms and are a huge voice for Stetina's Pay Dirt and have helped to bring people from numerous states around the world. Also, because there's a focus on professional bike racing and the women's athletes, we do get a couple of articles that usually get published every year. On the next slide, we have listed a couple of them that came out recently after the event. One obviously highlighting Paige Onweller and Heather Jackson. Heather Jackson did win last year. And then Velo also published a magazine. These are two of the most popular and notable cycling news outlets in the industry. And so to be featured on those is a big deal. It puts Carson City front and center and highlights the cycling in the area and leverages the media that we've created. So we make sure to have professional photographers and videographers out on course capturing how beautiful the region is with the backdrop of the Sierra Nevada. And so it really leaves an impression on the cycling audience as whole. On the next slide, we have a shot of the rollout. So this is when everybody's still together, leaving Carson City, heading out towards the Prison Hills area. We're kind of making our way towards the Pine Nuts here, but we're on the bike path. What's unique also about this event is it's not an all-out race right from the start. So it creates a really unique experience where athletes can ride together and enjoy the experience of riding together and enjoy the scenery and the places that they are. And then they'll arrive at a certain point along the course where we implement a segment where they can then race for a period of time. And it essentially becomes accumulation of 3 different time trials. And their times on these segments get added up. And at the end of the day, the person who completed them all in the shortest amount of time is the winner. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're first person to be back at the festival, because they wait and they regroup with their friends. And it just creates an incredible vibe and a very memorable experience, the way we've implemented our scoring system. On the next slide, you can see some of our key partners. Obviously, Visit Carson City is a major factor in our success with this event. Canyon has stepped up in a very big way and has helped to underwrite a lot of these expenses, as have some of our other partners like IRC. Wahoo actually pays for us to host a mechanical bull, which is a really fun element at the festival. And that's another way that we really capture people's attention and make sure that they're enjoying their time in Carson City. Next slide. So by the numbers, this is just a shot of the festival. We have the fortune of starting and finishing at Fuji Park, which is just a beautiful venue for us. Lots of shade, grass. It's just very comfortable. We've got access to water. We have access to pretty much everything that we need, including Costco right across the street. And we spend quite a bit of money there right before the event buying supplies for our aid stations, as do our athletes, obviously. So it's a pretty convenient location. Locations, venues are really tough to come by that kind of check all of the boxes, and Fuji Park fortunately does check most of them for us. On the next slide, we get into some of the metrics from this year's event. We were down a little bit in registration. It's not a consequence of the event becoming less popular. Rather, it's a consequence that the industry saw a little bit of retraction this year, kind of in line with some of the tourism retraction that we've seen across many of our events. Our audience was kind of holding on to their penny a little bit this year. So even with lower registration in 2025 compared to last year, we still saw 22 total states participate. So we still have people coming from around the country to Carson City. We expect there to be a bit of a rebound going into next year, as we set our sights on making sure that we're hunkering down and bringing people to Carson City. What was interesting is for those who did come to Carson City this year, the party size increased over 2024. So folks are actually saying, hey, I want to stay in Carson City and I want to bring a family member. So it's increasing the total participation per registered entrant, which brings up those total potential night stays because people are sticking around longer. If they're bringing somebody, a loved one with them, friends or family members, generally they're not in quite a rush to get back home. So with some of the math that we do in our survey, we were able to see that the estimated room nights is 473, which was only down about 100 compared to last year, which percentage-wise is better than it was in 2024. I think I might have some more numbers on that later on. If we go to the next slide, just another shot, and then by the numbers, these are the states that were represented. There were a total of 22 states, like I mentioned, and it kind of lists how many come from each participating state. You'll notice that obviously the big states are California and Nevada, but we still do have representation across the country. I mentioned some of the things that make it unique. Some stuff hasn't changed. The Pine Nut Mountains are a really cool backdrop and a really neat area. We're continuing to explore that region for next year to see if we can introduce some new routes, which will keep it interesting and attract more participation. We have the women's only cash purse. This year, we introduced a new free junior race, and we actually saw the largest junior participation count of any mass participation gravel race in the country. We had 50 juniors participate. It was a resounding success. What's also great about having juniors participate is they generally don't get there on their own. They bring their mom or their dad or their whole family. And we saw that at the festival, that folks were there and they were staying for multiple days. This is the only large-scale gravel race in Nevada. There are some much smaller gravel races taking place in areas that don't have nearly the same size demographic and are a lot harder to get to. So it's pretty unique in the entire state and definitely unique to Carson City. And we do programming over multiple days. So again, just kind of increasing that overnight stay. Next slide. We do make these, we actually hand forge these silver medals. A 2-ounce silver medal goes to anyone who ends up on the podium at the event. And price of silver is getting pretty high. So we're investing pretty heavily in the idea that the Silver State should be awarding people with silver ingots. And these are fully custom made. We actually pour them and drill the holes and rope them and give them to folks. And so it's a really neat keepsake and people talk about it a lot. So what's the future look like? Again, as I mentioned, we're looking at constantly trying to evolve the chorus. We make little adjustments and minor technical improvements every year. There isn't a whole lot that we have to do because there's nothing inherently wrong with the way that we're producing the event, but we're always looking to pay attention to what our audience is doing, what they want, and leveraging what we've learned from the year prior to make some improvements, such as adding the junior race, tweaking the race courses, adjusting the aid stations and how those are managed. So that's kind of the rough recap of the event. One thing that did contribute to the estimated room nights was another fact that wasn't listed in here. More people this year stayed 3 or more nights in Carson City, according to the survey data that we collected compared to last year. And we also saw that in 2 of our other events, Levi's Grand Fondo and Truckee Gravel. People that were traveling were sticking around longer. So they were making more of their trip and they were spending more nights in their destination. So we're hoping that we can keep that up going into next year as we add more people into the event. We did announce our new date, and so the event will return on May 16th of 2026, and we'll do it all over again.
Thank you very much, Carlos, for that recap. Any questions from the board for Carlos about the past event or what's forthcoming next year?
Yeah, real quick, Carlos, where do you see the growth coming from? What division? Do you see it in the junior or the adult class?
We've been seeing more younger participants come to our event as a result of us investing in junior racers. What we see from a lot of bike races that end up being around 5 to 10 years is a lot of their participants will naturally age out if they don't continue to invest in bringing new people. And so that's a big motivator for us to bring and make it free, make a super low barrier to entry for junior racers, because once they're not a junior anymore, then they're going to have to pay to participate in the event. It also brings their parents. And so we kind of keep that bell curve around 40 to 45 years of age, which is a great sweet spot, because a lot of these other events, maybe you're aging out at the mid to upper 50s and people kind of stop doing these competitive events after that. You can see them drop off pretty quick.
That's great. It was a great presentation. It's exciting.
Any other questions for Carlos? All right, I'm not hearing any. Carlos, thank you very much. Definitely looking forward to the 2026 event. I love the idea that we might change the route up a little bit. People genuinely do like the eastern side of Carson City. I think the views that they get of the Sierra Nevada Mountains and the Carson Range are unparalleled from over there. So, and it's gnarly terrain, right, over there. So, yeah, no, looking forward to next year's event. So, thank you very much,
Yep.
sir.
Really special place, and we're happy to be a part of it. So, thank you.
Awesome. All right, take care. And Vice Chair Reno, if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and move on
Absolutely.
on the agenda. Okay. Thank you, Carlos, again. We'll go ahead and move on to 10A, my Executive Director update. Just 3 things for this month's meeting. VNT update, phases 1 and 2. We've got 5 different phases as far as the new website is concerned. Right now, all things appear to be a go. That will launch the new website on the 21st of August. Fingers crossed. And then that should allow us to put the Polar Express tickets on sale in mid-September through the new website. And so that's our main goal right now, is to not do anything that jeopardizes $1 million in plus in ticket sales for PEX. So super excited about that. The second thing, America's 250 NV grant program. This is something through Travel Nevada. Eric is working on something. We hope to submit a possible grant later this week for Travel Nevada's consideration. I have a little bit more, I think, at the next month on that. So we're still fumbling our way around with that particular grant program. And then I just wanted to, there's been a lot going on out there, right? And what's happening with international visitors, international visitation. We've been, I think, fortunate that we've been insulated by the decrease in international visitation to the U.S. Las Vegas, not the case down there. And I think there's been a lesser impact in the Reno area as well as Lake Tahoe. But there's been a lot of news out there earlier this month. The State Department announced a 12-month visa bonding program under the Immigration and Nationality Act. I don't think that's going to impact our area as much because it's from countries where folks are, I guess, more prone to overstaying their visas, right? And not necessarily the countries that directly impact international visitation around our region. But the bigger concern is Congress, and you may or may not know this, enacted a $250 visa integrity fee. And that's going to apply to all non-immigrant visa applicants and basically put the U.S. among the highest visa fees in the world, which creates a competitiveness challenge because we've got a lot going on right now with a lot of the global events. The fee combined with other restrictive measures will really kind of contribute, I think, or play into this perception of the United States being an unwelcome destination. And I think that's really going to hinder the international inbound travel more so than already is the case. So I think we'll keep an eye on this. Obviously, with shows that we're going to be attending, I think we want to show that, hey, Carson City, this area is welcoming, to our international guests, as we are to all of our visitors. And so we're gonna keep a close watch on that. So anyway, that's my brief update for you all this month, and I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has one. Okay, not hearing any. Let's go ahead and move on to 10B, the transient occupancy tax actual versus forecast. That's the big sheet in your packets. I'll take you all the way over to that last furthest column on the right. We've got a handful of properties, just with the timing again of when folks have to postmark relative to us posting up. So you'll see June is still in blue, but I am happy to say we'll come in there about a percentage point higher for June as compared to June of 2024. So right now, for the full fiscal year, that should put us at just over 29.5 million, which is just under 9% ahead of the budget that we set a little over a year ago, and around 5.6% above fiscal 24 actual. So again, really happy to see these numbers. Super proud of the team for their work. Super proud of our lodging properties for keeping rates where they're at. And I mean, this is not the case with our peers in this area, so especially southern part of the state as well. So I think this is a good number, and we'll keep monitoring things as we progress through fiscal year 26. So this will be our last, I think, Chris, if I'm right, report on fiscal 25, because we'll switch over next month to our first month of the fiscal year being July. But by then, we should have our, quote unquote, final numbers pre-audit, of course, for 25 at next month's meeting. So I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any on the fiscal 25 lodging tax report. Okay, not hearing any. Let's go ahead and move on to 10C, Arts and Culture Update. Mr. Brooks, take it away, sir.
Thank you, Eric Brooks, for the record. So we're going to talk about a few things here in July. Tim Guthrie, Dirty Harry Downwinder, that's a new sculpture we have in our foyer. The 51st Annual ITCN Convention, the Intertribal Convention of Nevada, or Council of Nevada, thank you. I was able to attend that, and their theme this year was Together as One. And then we're going to have a little satellite gallery sales update and the things that are coming up next. So we were able to acquire this piece on a semi-permanent basis. The project where this sheep came from was Art Town project in 2005. It was called Counting Sheep, and 25 local artists were selected to have creative liberty and to make these sculptures their own. They were then distributed throughout Reno. This particular one was at Sierra Arts Foundation for quite a while, and then went to Western Nevada College. Western Nevada College was the one that sponsored it. So Dirty Harry Downwinder is a visual documentary and art form It tells the story of the complex and controversial history of the Nevada test site. So the ram's name is Dirty Harry Downwinder. That refers to the bomb that took place on May 19th and the individuals who resided downwind from the test. This whole story is really interesting if you're not familiar with it. We have a nice write-up there in the gallery for it. The funnest part about this, besides all of it's hard to see if you haven't been there yet, but there's little dots on it. Those are glass bulbs that have imagery about that test and that time frame. And then there's a lighting feature where the body goes off and all those little dots light up, and then it moves up through the mushroom cloud. Then we just did a little diorama for fun around it to encapsulate it a little bit better. Tim Guthrie is no longer in the area, but he has a very successful career, so we're very fortunate to have this piece as part of our collection and for visitors to be able to see it. And although this doesn't have a direct Carson City reference, I'm very happy as the capital city that we can represent something that's statewide and give people a wider view of the capital city and its importance to the entire state.
Can I just make a quick comment, Eric, related to that? For people who haven't seen it, the National Atomic Museum in Vegas is a great visit. If you haven't, I know it's not in Carson, but certainly ties into that, but it's a great visit. Really well done museum. I don't know if you've ever been, but.
I haven't, but I'm doing a
it's
fam trip to Vegas. in
Absolutely
November,
worth the
so.
trip there. A lot of history, and with Oppenheimer coming out, I think it kind of renewed some of the interest in that museum, but it's very well done. DRI operates the museum in Southern Nevada. It's well done. So I just want to throw that in there.
Thank you. This was my first time attending a Native American conference, and it was very eye-opening on several levels. The program-focused theme was healing, unity, and strength. The healing speaks to the continued work of generational trauma, which was a fascinating subject. I was able to sit in a couple different sessions. Rebuilding wellness through traditional practices and lifting each other up through community support, which I think as a general rule, we can look at those words and say, we can all be doing this together. But to be one of very few Caucasians in this group of several hundred Native Americans was really humbling to see what they have gone through for so long, what they're going through now, and then to see the hope and the camaraderie that they have in moving together forward, not just as a community of Native Americans, but a larger whole of becoming strong representatives for our entire community. So some of the highlights: the opening ceremony, traditional blessing and honor song. I think most people here have probably seen something like that. If you haven't, you'll get a chance coming up in the next year for sure. The Native community builders, tribal cultural values was fascinating. Balancing leadership, positive psychology, generational trauma, and work performance. And then the keynote speaker, Abigail Echohawk, we're going to try to bring her not to this year's Mark Twain, but I was able to have a nice conversation with her, and she's interested in being one of the keynotes for next year's Mark Twain Days. So she had two different sessions on the missing and murdered Indigenous persons task force that's going on. If you're not familiar with that either, it's definitely something worth looking into. They've done some really good work in the legislation and being able to get an Amber Alert sort of thing going. But it's absolutely a menace of what's happening in their communities. And then I was also able to attend the Two Spirits documentary, Understanding Gender and Colonization, which I had no idea that the Native Americans have a huge past of homosexuality in their culture, and the way that the colonizers beat it out of them, basically. They were targeted, much like it's happening today. So lots of eye-opening, really good connections, being able to work with and have conversations with the intertribal leaders. I think we're gonna have some really good collaboration in the near future with them. BAC Satellite Gallery Sales. So I think most of you have seen at least some of these works. So Rosita Todorova, she had the amazing landscape pieces a few months ago, and then we had her sculpture in the foyer. That piece is now on the permanent collection of TMCC campus. Nick Noyes is a young artist based in Reno. His work, I'm a huge fan of anyway, but I know some of the board was able to see his work, and We were able to sell several of his pieces. That piece that's centered is one of my favorite pieces that I've seen in Reno since I've been here, or the Reno area. That was also a purchase. And then Janice Stowers is a fusion glass artist who's semi-retired. She lives in Minden, and we've been showing her work exclusively in the little glass box. And she has been selling something almost, not quite every month, but every couple months she sells a piece. And we've had really good feedback from her. So to get into the numbers a little bit better, actually, no, that's all we were going to, where did I have that? Oh, yeah, we are on the right page. All right. So some milestones from the first year in our new space. Of course, it's a supplemental gallery designed to support local and regional artists while allowing visitors to have an immersive arts experience. And there really is a lack of space for artists to show in Reno. And with CCAI retiring, it'll be curious to see some of the other gallery spaces if they'll be available or not for showing. So we're very proud that we're able to partner with BAC to have the opportunity for the artists, but also for the visitors. So it's a carefully crafted rotating exhibition. We're doing quarterly exhibitions, as you know, to show the natural beauty that Carson City has and to tell stories about our history, culture, and place and time. So some of our milestones for those quarterly art rotations, we're doing original artworks. We're doing quarterly artist receptions with artist talks. To date, we've recorded, or BAC has recorded 15 sales from the exhibitions and facilitated permanent placement of 6 additional artworks. And that has led to about $3,400 directly benefiting local and regional artists. And the picture there is Candida Webb. If you haven't been able to come in and pop and see her work, it also has a tie to the nuclear 1950s with some very fun collage work. So up next, we've got August 19th through the 24th, the Watercolor Festival. That'll primarily be artists painting in the streets until you get to the 23rd, 24th. That Saturday, Sunday will be a flurry of activity at the Brewery Arts Center with over 100 pieces of art being up for sale through an auction process. All bids will start at $100. And then there's one small change that happened over the weekend. Paula Sapanaro's retrospective, which is 45 years of painting in many different styles. I love her work as well, so it's a very, very strong show. Her date has been pushed to September 14th now. The celebration is on the 13th, and with all the music and other things, we didn't want to have the two be a conflict at all. So we just pushed her into the 14th so we can have a more celebrated moment for her and her work. Are there any questions? Stacy?
Have you talked to anyone at BAC or yourself to continue to coordinate this room? Did we discuss that at a previous meeting?
We haven't in this meeting. Stephanie Hicks reached out.
Okay.
And we had a conversation about it. The BAC staff is currently stretched to its limits.
Okay.
Especially for without a budget.
Yeah.
To take on one more thing would be difficult if they weren't able to hire or get some more hours for
Right.
that person to do it. I know the community, there's been several people have reached out to me and they're very concerned / curious about what's going to happen to the spaces, particularly this room.
Yeah, and the courthouse. The courthouse less impactful, I think, because it's going to go away. So, because the common area there at the courthouse is eventually going to be built in. So
Yeah, and it's a beautiful space, but
It
it's
is.
harder access. I think a lot of people
it is. Yeah,
feel
This is-
intimidated to go there,
correct,
where this is
correct.
open and people can
Yep.
come in here. So yes, I guess is the answer to your question. There have been other discussions with other groups. NAA has had some discussion about that. So there's whisperings in the dark,
Okay.
but nothing concrete.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Eric? Yeah, I just want to say really well done with the satellite gallery. I think this is quite impressive. I think we're still the only space that is paying a stipend to artists in Carson City, right, to display their works, which I think is important for us to take the lead on something like that for sure.
Yeah, and except for the Nevada Museum of Art, I don't know any other gallery that does that. Sierra Arts used to when I was running that space, but they no longer do. it's a very small amount of money for the artists, but it makes a huge impact in feeling appreciated for what they're doing. So the not just the PR, but also give them a little bit of funding for framing and different things. It's the least we could do, in my opinion.
Agreed, yeah. No, good work. Great job. Okay, any other questions for Eric? Anything on arts and culture? All right, nicely done, sir. With that, we will move on to 10D, events and sales update. So I'm going to be your stew this month. So Lydia, if you will crank into the, yes, great. So we'll touch a little bit on Arena Wars, the battle in the Sierras boxing, outlaw flat track racing, and then we have the Fraufect, the women's only HEMA tournament coming up as well. Perfect. So we took a stab with a new Arena Wars event in July. This one will come out on the back end through FanDuel in terms of how they distribute that. We only wound up with 12 fighters on the card. The reason for that, as I learned about from Matt that evening, is a lot of the fighters are firefighters coming from Oregon and Northern California and then Southern Washington. And because of the fires that were going on, several of them had to drop out because Stu's going to kill me here, but I think we were expecting to have 20 cards, I guess if that's the right terminology, and it was reduced to the 12 fighters, right? And so anyway, we had about 400 spectators. We got killed by celebrity golf. So this was, a try it, not the time of the year to do this. It really did impact ticket sales, Matt said. So we're going to course correct, and we will bring another new Arena Wars event here in November. I'm going to say the 15th is right now what we're looking at. And then we'll come back around and do the May event next May. So we'll kind of bookend the summer in terms of Arena Wars in hopes that, we'll push back up 600, 700, 800 seats. So that's the plan as far as Arena Wars. We tried it. It just, summer is definitely not going to work for this particular type of event here in Carson City. So that's a quick Arena Wars update. This one is so interesting, this battle in the Sierras boxing. It's a Tasmanian Boxing Club, which is a local boxing club. So we're going to partner with these guys in Parks Rec Open Space. This will be an endorsed event on the 16th. So, geez, that's this weekend, actually, at the Fuji Park, at the exhibition hall over there is where these boxing matches are going to take place, working with Mr. Rodriguez here, who's the coach of the Tasmanian Boxing Club. And they expect to have 50 fighters from Sacramento and other California areas who will be coming to Carson City for this event. So something new now, we're into boxing, which is quite exciting, quite frankly. So anyway, yeah, please, if you can make it there this weekend, I think it'll be very, very exciting. All right, moving on to our Carson City Outlaw Flat Track Racing. Right now, Mr. Hansen's got about 200 registered riders. Most of these folks do come from California, bring their own families, their followers, who come in, to watch these guys do this amazing flat track kind of oval dirt racing. As of 8/4, he gave us up to about 500 tickets. So that's pretty good, I think, And I know, again, we're this community where everybody's booking a day or 2 or 3 days before the event happens. So I expect, that ticket count has continued to go up. And I apologize that I don't have an updated number for you, but should be exciting. All right, the Fraufect HEMA Women's Tournament. This is the premier event for women in, I'm going to say the U.S., but I also like to think in the world. This will be August 30th to the 31st. This is huge because I feel like when we first started this, the first one, I don't even know if we had 10, 15 ladies participating. And to expect 80 females to participate this year is really, I think, quite great, to be honest with you. And then these 4 statements, it's the largest women's only rapier tournament in the U.S., largest women's saber tournament in the U.S., and the only women's broadsword tournament in the world, and the only women's small sword tournament in the U.S. I think those are pretty cool statements to tie into this event for Carson City. So exciting to have this large of a contingency coming at the end of the month. These are just some extra pictures from the downtown car revival, which was amazing. They went to 550 cars. So she went way over the, was it 500 last year or 400? Off the top of my head, I don't know. And I know there were still cars out and about that weren't even registered, right? So hats off to those folks. And then just some more pictures from the Arena Wars. Our banner was nicely draped in the back, so hats off to Stu and then Zach for taking the great pictures and video. Vice Chair Reno has agreed to represent the CTA board in the November event, so he will be there fighting. But he said maybe if they have like a kids competition, he could come in on
If
that.
I'm fighting you, Dave.
Yeah.
And Dave,
that's the disabled.
Stu had noted that cars came as far away from Oregon and Florida and Minnesota.
Thank you. Minnesota, that's super. Great state, great people from Minnesota. So, quick update on behalf of Stu. Any questions on events and sales from the board? All right, well, thank you all very much. We'll move on to 10E, Marketing and PR Update. Lydia, take it away, please.
Bear with me. It freezes every time I get to my presentation. So 1 second. There we go.
Yeah,
All
you
right,
got it.
hopefully.
Will it let you advance the slides? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
there you go.
All
Okay.
right.
Whew.
Thank you for your patience. This is Lydia Beck for the record. Since we're fresh into our new fiscal year, I wanted to take a recap on what FY25 looked like, especially for our new board members, and a little update on a fun documentary. So as a whole, for our full digital growth update, we saw really strong numbers in FY25. So year over year, almost all numbers were up across the board. However, most significantly, we were up in web visits and lodging referrals, which is what we love to see. And we're consistently having keyword wins with our search engine optimization as our main category rankings are continuing to rise. So kid-friendly things to do in Carson City. Carson City history was ranked #1 when we were previously unranked. Mountain biking in Nevada. Our organic traffic, lodging referrals for keywords, newsletter signups remain pretty flat year over year. Where we're going to be looking to improve this year is while we saw increases across the board everywhere else in website, paid digital, paid search, paid social. We were down just slightly in our organic social, some display, and organic search. And so those are down slightly. We actually have a different strategy this year moving forward, and we're going to have Datafy back in the mix with a really strong ad buy that was grant funded that will likely increase those numbers quite dramatically. So we're not worried about that at all. But where most of the eyeballs are is where we're up. So we're very pleased to see that. So also in our digital growth category, of course, was the Winter's Charm campaign. This was a huge part of our success, and we definitely hope and think contributed to some of the success we saw over the winter. We've never really had a winter-focused campaign before. I think what we were able to pull off definitely was a contributing factor to some of those numbers. And we are excited to see how we will evolve this into phase 2 for this year. We will also be starting this campaign much earlier, the goal of the end of October, where we were actually shooting this mid-November. And so we're very excited to get that inspiration early as people are looking to plan their winter holiday vacations. But for a recap of the campaign as a whole, we had 5.7 million impressions from November through March, 627,000 engagements, 600 people shared the campaign or shared one part of the campaign with their friends. We had 132 lodging referrals, which was a 120% increase from the previous 4 months before the campaign, which was primarily some of our summer months as well. So overall, a huge success. We're super proud of this campaign, and we're very excited to see where this goes. And we'll be shooting some new assets, including probably some things with Danielle, our park ranger, that will refresh some of those ads to make the March area a little more evergreen past Valentine's Day. So out of digital growth, next is public relations. So for the FY25 recap, with the Carson City to Canada Quest, plus the Winter's Charm campaign, we had 2 campaigns that were a massive part of this year. So we had over 752 total stories compared to 677 in FY24. We hosted 5 media fams and also hosted 6 social media influencers and content creators ourselves in-house outside of KPS3. So some of our major wins that happened within the PR landscape were featured stories in the East Bay Times, the San Jose Mercury News. Winter's Charm received national and dry market media coverage, including coverage from TV stations in LA, the Bay Area, and Sacramento. And it was also reviewed in detail by a holiday movie review podcast, Christmas Movies Actually, which was a fun mention that we had. We also had total stories about the Carson City to Canada Quest, which was 11. A lot of them were in pretty high featured publications, which seems small, but this was the tail end of launching our hikers. And this did not include the year previous, which had hundreds of mentions of when we were actually launching the campaign. And then we had the Carson City was listed at the Carson City. Carson City was listed as a 10 best place to retire in the Western U.S. by Travel and Leisure, which was such a great pickup. We're really grateful for that national publication. And we hosted 2 in-person premieres for A Winter's Charm in Carson City, which really helped deepen this campaign within our community and beyond. So on top of that, our campaign locally and nationally, the Winter's Charm swept the Addy Awards in Reno, including Best of Show. We also took home the Best Seasonal Campaign at the eTourism Summit Awards in the conference in Vegas this year. And then we were just awarded the Hermes Creative Award, which is one of the oldest and largest creative competitions in the world, and winners range in size from individuals to media conglomerates and Fortune 500 companies. And we were awarded the Platinum Award. So we're very excited and proud of that campaign. So to jump into our content creators and our influencers, this is something we do outside of KPS3. We have found that by budget and financially, it's actually more affordable for us to work with a company called Glocally that helps source, track, pay through a contract instead of us paying and negotiating directly with the influencers. And then they also boost the content behind it within that contract. So it has been a wonderful partnership that has allowed us to work and continue to work with some great content creators that are exactly part of what our brand pillars are looking for. So this year we worked with 6 influencers. We had 75 posts across all 6, and we reached nearly 600,000 people within this campaign. So I wanted to show you what some of that content can look like. And one of our most successful posts and creators that we worked with was a family that goes by Romaroo. And this was a quick post that they did that ended up getting some really great exposure for us. And they came in the winter, so this was nice. Also, a little boost in the off season. So though it's really short, the captions are really detailed. And so they were wonderful also about mentioning our hotel partners. They stayed at the Staybridge, which is one of our most family-friendly hotels that we have. They generally like the suites that they have there. So they had a great itinerary, and that one got some really significant views that delivered 300,000 impressions alone and 1,400 engagements on that post by itself. So we had a diversified content between pegging us as a Hallmark Christmas town to our family content and beyond. And so we are going to continue that partnership with Glocally this year as well. So going back to our traditional PR, outside of the influencers, we resulted in 34 Tier 1 features. Some of those highlights were Backpacker Magazine, Mercury News, and the Napa Valley Register. So moving into FY26, what are our goals coming into this year? As a reminder, in FY25, we switched how we tracked our media from a company that was called Cision to using Muckrack. And that got away from using what the standard metrics were unique visitors to the websites that were mentioning Carson City. And we were finding that metric was more and more inflated. Like everything was like 100,000 unique visitors per month. And you could tell that the tracking was not concise. And so we moved over now to a scorecard in this last year. And so we use this to show value and accountability of our PR outcomes, which are defined together with KPS3. And so it reflects metrics that are meaningful to both of us throughout the year and not just that industry standard. So it really keeps things clear and concise and goals for KPS3 and something that's a little more trackable for us. So you're going to see features and mentions and then the tiers that we work by. So our features are full or complete stories that are just about Carson City or visit Carson City. And then the mentions are when we're included in a roundup of like the top 10 Western states to retire to, or cities to retire to. Our tier 1 publications are national, like PBS, Condé Nast, Travel and Leisure, Sacramento TV stations, East Bay Time. And then the tier 2 are regional publications like Nevada Appeal, if we're featured on Colo 8, KTVN. And then tier 3 are niche publications like Pride Journeys, Travel Zoo, Coin News, Alliance of Women in Film Journalists, True West Magazine. So though it says tier 3, those are still really significant placements as well. We had some really lofty goals in FY25 because we knew we had the 2 campaigns. We knew that we were wrapping up the Carson City to Canada Quest and launching our hikers, and we also knew the winter campaign was coming. So we had really lofty goals that, though we missed on some, we totally outshot some of the others, especially in the mentions category. You can see that our goal for tier 2 mentions was 125 and we came out with 322. So this was the first year of the scorecard that we had. And so we definitely have reevaluated and also reconsidered what our strategy is this year without having 2 tentpole campaigns and going into more of a general broad shift to just general media outreach about Carson City. So we're going to be focusing on more top of funnel awareness, so earning more tier 1 and national coverage. So fewer of KPS3 hours will go into planning big budget events that are in person, like the winter campaign or the Carson City to Canada Quest. And then we're going to focus on honing in on tight top storylines to more publications. So they're going to spend a lot of time pitching this year, which we're hopeful and are confident that we'll be reaching still a lot of features and a lot of mentions. You can see our goals there on the left. Are there any questions about FY25 or any of our PR goals for this year? All right. To wrap things up then, we had something really interesting happen actually almost a couple years ago. There was a man featured here in the picture. His name is Gregory Masson, and he stopped into the visitor center as he was biking across country, grabbing photos and video of destinations along the Lincoln Highway for a documentary called After Ike. And so I wanted to play you the trailer for it because it is not out into the world yet because they're putting it through the festival circuit. And when you go through the festival circuit, it can take a couple of years before they actually release it to the public. But it was very exciting. He came into the visitor center, talked about the Highway 50 passport, and we're highlighted in the credits. I was able to preview it. It's about an hour-long documentary, and it's wonderful, very interesting, and it's winning awards in festivals throughout the Midwest.
An official convoy had never even been attempted.
And it was not the most enjoyable trip for a young Dwight Eisenhower. He wanted to make sure that the United States had really good road system.
We started the 41,000 miles of superhighways.
Yeah, the Lincoln Highway is very important to our way of life and to everybody in this area.
Yeah, so we are excited to have some credits in there, and when we have a link to formally release it to everyone, we'll be able to share that. But Carson City and Highway 50 alone has a pretty significant section in that. And so we're really grateful for Gregory and all the work that they put into that, highlighting the Lincoln Highway. And I'm happy to answer any other questions. Otherwise, that's it.
Any questions for Lydia from the board?
Thank you very much.
Good job. Yeah, no, that documentary is pretty cool. The guy showed up and Lydia's like representing for all of Highway 50 in Nevada, which is just fantastic. So great work. Yep. We got some, I think, some still solid goals for next year, you guys. A little bit of a shift in strategy, and we'll keep refining, you know, as we move forward. So, all right. Stacy, did you have a question, or are you okay? No? Okay. All right. Not hearing any further questions. Thank you, Lydia. We'll move on to 10F, future agenda items. Anybody from the board like to see anything on next September's agenda? No? All right. Well, that's good. That's easy. All right. 10G, upcoming meeting, September 8th, right here in this room at 4 p.m. And with that, I'll turn it over to Vice Chair Reno. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we will ask for any board comments or announcements.
Yeah, just a quick mention relative to the, whatever the 250th anniversary is. There's a name for it, right? It's
The semi something?
Yeah, I mean, it's bicentennial for 200. It's got to be,
Yeah,
anyway.
it's something.
I'm
It's
too
difficult to
Too
pronounce.
ignorant to know what that is. But
Semi.
anyway,
Go ahead, Eric.
250, do you know what it is?
Yes, Eric knows because he's our arts
I
and
believe it's
culture
the semi-sesquicentennial. Something along those-
Say it again?
Semi-sesquicentennial.
Thank you.
Semi-sesquicentennial.
Yes.
Wow, I probably will never say that again.
Wow.
In event, Carson City's looking at two things just to add on to this, and maybe you've been contacted, but we're working with Carson Tahoe on a large flag at the north end of Carson. So for those of you who've seen, I mean, like Elko has a massive flag right on Interstate 80, something along those lines. And we originally asked NDOT if we could do it by the Eagle on South Carson, and they were being their usual NDOT selves. So potentially north end of Carson. And then the Sea Hill flag is in desperate need of refurbishment. And you should start seeing some info about that, looking for volunteers and sponsors and things like that, collecting donations for the redoing that. We ran into, there's a committee that was formed, I don't know the name of it, Sea Hill Flag Committee or some other innovative name, but they were sort of getting blocked by BLM, but we were able to work through that and come up with the fact that we're not changing it, we're just doing maintenance on an existing structure. So it's, what, 20 plus years old now? It was 2001, it's 20-something years old. It's hard to believe, but so it really does need some work. And so those are the two things that the city's working on, and potentially, which we can talk to you about, is a little bit more in the way of a fireworks display than the typical amount, because usually we have relatively short fireworks display. And so that's kind of the other thing that we're thinking potentially. Yeah, so that's it from the board perspective that I can think of relative to art and culture.
It's exciting. Okay, at this time, we'll ask for any public comment. And hearing none, we will move on to item 13. We are adjourned.